So July has ended, and for me, that marked the ending of my first year doing Artfight. I wanted to, I guess, show all my art that I've done during Artfight and my experience joining it, how the people were like, and just, I guess, just talking about how it went for me and how I'm really happy I took the chance to join this year because I was terrified for like a few years to join, and then I finally joined this year. And it was very last minute, but honestly, I feel like that added to the experience. Like I barely had anything ready. I literally only had one character, fully written out and stuff like that. Like I have all the lore in my head, but it's like I didn't have anything written out. Honestly, all my characters still got attacked on, which made me really grateful. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to talk about my experience to hopefully get more people to join if you're scared or if you're just wondering how Artfight works or anything like that. I'll also be showing my profile and like how I did certain things to help people out and all that. So my first attack was for Aurora 388. I drew the character MJ or Michelle. There wasn't really much of a description of this character, which honestly allowed me to like free reign with whatever I wanted to do, which was nice for like a first attack. So I decided to try and push my perspective a bit with this one and like draw her reaching out of a TV as if she was like gonna grab you and get you. And I feel like it honestly works really well with the whole horror element of her being a zombie, like, ooh, scary, she's gonna grab you, you know? Anyway, so her character design seems to like fluctuate a bit. There seems to be like a newer design and like the older one, you know? So I kind of like mashed the two of them a bit, honestly, because I kind of wanted to draw like exposed wounds and like the hanging eyeball of like the original design. So yeah, I kind of mashed them a bit just like to have fun with it. And yeah, the design was super fun to work with, and I feel like this was like a really fun first attack for me. So my second attack was for user Worm. I drew their character How. There also wasn't like too much of a description for this character, so I just went with like a more chill pose than the first one. So like I just drew him like he was chilling around on a like really sweaty day. I really wanted to like push my background for this one, but I didn't end up doing that. Just because I'm not really good at drawing backgrounds. Okay, but like I do push myself later on, so yeah. But for the longest portion of the speed paint, you guys will see like I didn't include his eyes at all because like the original photo that Worm did for How, like his eyes were like covered by his hair, so I was gonna keep that as well. But it just felt so like empty without them, so I decided to just include them, and I'm really glad I did. And Worm said it was like okay to like include the eyes if we wanted to, so yeah. Anyway, I feel like you can already tell that like based on these two attacks, versus like every attack you see after this, they're like so vastly different in the style, and it's not because well, I did find a lot of my style like during Artfight, but it's more like before this I hadn't really drawn in a while, and it was like when I don't draw in a while, I kind of forget how to draw, and it takes me a bit to like get back in the habit of finding a coloring style I like and just things like that. So like definitely the coloring between the first and second attack are very different. And then like every attack after this stays pretty consistent in my coloring style and like just the way I sketch and draw. The style stays pretty consistent after this, but like these two first attacks are just me trying to remember how to do things, especially in a way that I enjoy. Okay, this attack is probably my favorite piece in like the entirety of the month of July. But like I really like a lot of the pieces that come after this. But I made this and it was like, wow, I like peaked in life. This is my peak. I'll never do this again. But like seriously, I don't know what came over me because I never colored or even like sketched in this certain style before. Like it's not that much different than my usual, but it just feels a lot softer. And I think it's because of like the brush I used to like sketch. I changed it, and I feel like I just stuck with it now, and it's like a lot of a it's like way softer of a brush, and I feel like that just changed my art to look more soft as well. But working on this piece was so much fun. Like this comes from someone who actually despises coloring, but I was enjoying even that entire process with this work. So that was really nice. Anyway, this attack is for user Salt X, And when I was looking through their characters, which by the way, they have so many incredible character designs, and I felt like so inspired by every single one of them. But the character that caught my eye was Fiametta. Honestly, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the names correctly, but bear with me. Honestly, her design reminded me of my guy, like my character Callius, and then I noticed that like Fiametta was being shipped with another character of theirs named Valentine, and I just knew I had to draw them together. Like I love drawing OC pairs, and like it gives me so much more range of like pose and like how they act with each other. So that was super nice. Anyway, so for this piece, I took in the fact that Fiametta is like a princess and is often like drawn in a more like she's like in a position where she's like always holding or like she's the one holding or initiating certain things with Valentine, and they're like their dynamics seem super like soft. So I wanted that to be shown in my drawing of them. But Valentine is her loyal soldier, so I decided to go with a pose that showed like the softness of their dynamic while also showing how much Valentine admires and like protects the princess. And I feel like I got that across pretty well. My fourth attack was for I am underscore Toothpaste, and I drew the character Kaiser. So Kaiser is like a Genshin Impact OC that wanders around and tames animals. So I really like played into the whole entire adventure animal tamer and made my first scene for the event. By making Kaiser like set sail on a journey with his bird. Well, he doesn't actually have a bird, I don't think. But I thought it would be cool for this piece, so I added one. This is another one of those pieces I did that stuck with me, and my art style. I'm still like so proud of it, and just how dynamic it is, and how the lighting looks, and how the water and everything about it like flows together. I just think it's super dynamic, and like the pose is super cool, and I'm really proud of it. Okay, so earlier I said that this was my first scene piece. So in Artfight, that basically means you drew a background for this piece that includes more than just like a prop element or just one piece of a background, and you can label it as a scene and it gets you more points. So with that in mind, let me explain what Artfight is. Artfight is essentially a month-long event where you can draw other people's characters with the incentive that you get points that go into the team's total. So there's like two teams with different themes each year, and this year it was fossils versus crystals. And I chose crystals literally because it matched like my profile colors, and it was like super pretty. Um, but the themes don't really matter in the long run. You don't have to draw like things based on the theme or anything like that. The theme is just like a label to give separation for both of the teams. So it's basically two teams fighting with the power of art to gain enough points to win the event. I think a big part of art fight that people forget is that like you draw someone's character and shouldn't expect to be given art back. Like this is an art gifting game, and you shouldn't go in with it like with intentions to just get a bunch of art from other people. So for example, I joined art fight with the primary goal to improve my composition and color technique, and I did. And my art has improved so much by joining art fight. And honestly, joining it just wanting to improve gave me a way to enjoy the event that didn't depend solely on getting things back, which is what I do think some people join the event for, and I think it can definitely ruin your experience. Like if you join just for that one reason, like saying this, I was like super lucky throughout the whole event because for the most part, most of my attacks were revenges, which is like people chose to draw my character first, and I revenged it by drawing one of theirs back, which I'm very grateful for. But again, I'd say like join for yourself and for your own improvement. And if you get things back, it just adds onto the enjoyment, and it's not the entirety of your enjoyment. On this note, I would also say try to push yourself out of your comfort zone and share your art profile in different places. So like I would post anytime I attacked someone on my TikTok, and to get like my art profile out there more, I would also join specific art fight servers and just like showing my account or showing the attacks I've done throughout these servers, and it would get my profile list by other people. And lastly, the community. If you're scared to join because you might meet artists who are rude and stuck up, I say honestly don't worry about that and just join, because a vast part of the community is not like that at all. I met like the kindest, most grateful and excited people during this short month, and it honestly was what made my experience at least, and what made me want to continue joining for the event next year. So for the most part, people are very sweet and kind and will love to engage and talk with you. So don't be afraid that everyone is like the horror stories that you might have heard, because in my experience, everyone I spoke to, like, is what made Artfight such a warm community for me. Okay, enough about Artfight yap. This is my fifth attack, and this is for Lursida, who's actually a mutual of mine, and I drew her and her boyfriend. I don't actually have much to say about this piece other than like I love how it came out, and like it just feels so loving when I look at it, and I'm really happy that it came off that way. But I'm super proud about the anatomy of the heads, especially because for some reason I have like the hardest time with drawing heads, and like I feel like I improved a lot during like the entirety of the event, which I'm super happy about because I don't think I struggle much with them anymore. So that's good. Alright, onto my sixth attack. This is for Kappa 888, another mutual of mine, and I drew her character Scarlet. I think this is the first attack I made where like there was a big description, so I really got to like use that description to design the pose for Scarlet. So she is like a witch of gambling character who by night enjoys utilizing people's desires and greeds against them through gambling. And by day, she is a nun who is blessed by the goddess of luck, which I also found like really ironic and funny because the absolute contrast of her character, like a gambler by night and a nun by morning, is just funny to me. Anyway, so when trying to figure out a pose for her, I knew I wanted to include gambling in some form, so I decided to go for poker chips in a compositional way of like her throwing them out onto the table, with another one covering her eye to symbolize the luck she got granted. I also wanted to draw her looking ecstatic and almost like crazily so in a way, because like her whole character as a whole gives off those vibes. Anyway, I remember having such a hard time with the perspective of the hands, especially the one like reaching out, throwing like the poker chips. But I was like really happy with the outcome of it, and I'm super proud of this final result for this piece. Okay, attack number 7. This was for Gigalicious, and I drew their character Finn. So this was actually the first mass attack I got, and it was so cute. I adored it so much, and I just loved this artist's style so much. Like the shape language they use was so good, and it was just like really cool to look at how they like draw things in a different way than how I would do it, and it was like super fun to look at. Anyway, Finn is a business cat who is very over her job, so I knew I just had to draw her being annoyed and over a phone call during her workday. But I really like how it came out, and I wish I drew more like Anfro and furry characters. Alrighty, Pokemon Attack. Probably one of my other favorite ones, and I feel like I've said that a lot of times now. But I just love the composition I did and just how dynamic the pose went. But anyway, this attack is for Drink of Wizards, and I drew the character Vera. She's a Pokemon OC, and she is 8 years old and always with her Victini at her side. So I just knew I had to draw like the classic Pokemon battle screen with the Victini popping out ready to battle, or like at least a spin on that classic vibe. But I just loved how every part of this came out, and it was a blast working on it. Okay, onto attack number 9, which is for Alexis Hua, and I drew their character Icarus. Yeah. Okay, so Icarus is described as an emotionally unstable and manipulative character who likes to act childlike and playful. He's a government created person, which they call primals. Primals are often seen as emotionally powerful humans, compared to like human society in this universe, which has become like stunted in emotions at least, or like suppressing emotions. I was looking at his like character sheet and all the references Alexis gave. He's often in like these violent poses, but like he always seems to have like a smile on his face or like seeming ecstatic. So I went in that direction, and I made like a composition where he was in the midst of one of his rampages and possibly sees others watching him, or maybe like he sets his eyes on like the next victim of his or something like that. This was so fun to draw, and I love how I did the background like with the blood splatters incorporated into it, but I love drawing this piece. Alrighty, attack number 10, which is for P. Kester PC, and I drew their OC Dylan. So there wasn't much lore description I could use to aid my poses for this one, which means I get free reign again. But it is said that he grew an unrequited love, so I decided to go for a pose that was like him leaned up against a brick wall, possibly at the top of a roof or some sort of building, looking at something in the distance. In my mind, it was towards the person that Dylan loves, and he's just looking at him, admiring him, I guess, from afar. So for this piece, I had taken a slight break from Artfight, and I think I genuinely forgot how to draw properly. So this was me easing myself back in and being experimental again. Originally, this was going to be more of a sketch piece that was like just black and white with no color, but it felt weird because like all my previously done attacks were all colored pieces. So I decided to just color it, but like keep the original elements of that sketchy look I had going before. I honestly wish I had just taken a bit more time working on this piece, as I really do like how the face and the line art turned out, but just something about it feels weird compared to my other attacks. It just feels less finished, and it probably is, but I still enjoyed it though. On to attack number 11, which was for Vert1 Go Away underscore, and I drew their character solely. I feel like this ended up being yet another experimental piece for me. Like, I really like this one. Like, even if it was experimental, I just feel like the lighting and my slight change in color technique actually worked really well for this character and the environment on this one. So Soli is the drummer of a band, and after hearing that piece of information, I ran off solely that because I was like, yippee! Instruments, I want to join playing them. And I just had to do it, you know? So I just jumped straight into drawing. But I liked working on this piece, and I was just having like a really hard time with the initial pose for this one because I wanted to include a lot of his body in the frame, but then I realized if I were to do that, it would have to be a really weird angle, and it would just get really confusing. So, and like even then, I still couldn't include a lot of the body parts, so I just went for like a normal front-facing view, which just made it so his arms were like lifting up as if he were like just pulling away from the drum for a second, and then like before he goes back down to play it, you know, so that they were still in view. And honestly, I was just really feeling this piece after the initial pose struggle, and I'm really proud of how I used colors for this piece. Yippee! Oh my god, guys, I'm not even joking. I've been waiting and looking forward to talking about this piece since the first second. I love, love, love how like this piece turned out. Everything about it was so fun. Like I was on the biggest high ever after making it. Just something about it was so like whimsical and joyous and fun to stare at. Like I think I watched my own speed paint of it like at least 5 times. Anyway, alright, on to details. I drew this for Shellyfish. Also, for the longest time, I could have sworn that their user said fish and not FSH, so I like managed to delude myself. But that's not the point. Anywho, I drew the character Ash. Ash is a mutant with 4 eyes and gem skills across his whole body. He was sold to the circus as an infant to be an exhibit and grew up as their infamous moneymaker. He resents this life but is too timid and gentle to run away and face the world alone, so he stays. His dream is to live a life where he isn't stared at. So, with that sad lore, I knew I had to draw him being a spectacle on a poster for everyone to stare at him. But I just thought doing a circus poster design would be super fun, and oh my gosh, I was right. I want to do so many random poster designs now. But I used a lot of vintage circus posters as inspiration, especially on the colors, and I think the best part about this was the colors. So that ended up working so stunningly well together, and like just the way all the colors like match while still having a lot of contrast is so it just my brain. I just love how like swirly and pretty it all came out looking. But I love this piece. Already attack number 13, the quote unquote last attack I said I would do. As you can probably tell, this was not the last attack I did. So this attack is for reddish color, and while looking through the character, I stumbled upon Minfi Faye's design. And honestly, it caught my eye, because Faye was actually my online alias for the longest time, before I switched to using my actual name Min, which also sounds like Minfi, or feels like Minfi, you know, like same vibes. So maybe this worker glass girl was secretly me in another life. Ooh, who knows? Um, but besides the name, I actually grew really interested in the lore that reddish color had for them. So Minfi is a glass demon and is considered a runt, meaning she is abnormally small for the species size. However, she wasn't actually born a runt. She just got into an accident that took away a lot of her glass while she was being remade. So now she's like really small for her size. Anyway, she's an office assistant at a law firm where she's constantly overworked and underpaid. Through a bunch of work related calls with another company, she grows close and starts dating Julian, which introduces the other character I drew with Minfi. Julian is the CEO and heir of a technology company founded by his father. He's filthy rich, demeaning, and capable, and he's great with money and people, and has grown the company a lot. He won't admit it, but he loves Minfi to bits. So this lore snagged me right up, and I couldn't help but draw the two of them together. I decided to go for a pose where Julian was waiting on her to finish her work so that they could leave. In my head, since Minfi is overworked, I imagined her staying really late while everyone else had already left to keep working, and Julian had kept her company while complaining just a bit. But I loved how this came out, and I wish I could have done a full scene for this piece with a whole office behind them to show like that it was night and like I had a whole vision, but it's alright. I still love this piece a ton, and it was really fun to work on. Yippee! Final attack. Okay, I will admit I was slightly rushing to finish this one, so I do feel like I threw my consistency out the window just a bit, but I genuinely think it works for the vibe of this character, which I'll explain later. Anyway, this attack is for Poyux, and I drew her character Astia. So she is a princess who enjoys wearing her exploration outfit, which you knew I had to include. Anyway, the reason I said my coloring style and relative sketch style for this worked out on this piece is that the overall vibe I get from this artist and the art of her is like a mix of animated cartoon and comic-esque vibes. So I kind of just used that as my reason to draw more simply and in a more cartoonish and child book kind of way, using hatching as my main method of coloring. I actually do like how this came out. It kind of looks like if someone were to like color a page in a like a coloring page, and I really like that vibe. Like it looks like crayons, you know. So I actually do really like how it came out. It just feels out of style compared to the rest of my attacks, but that's okay. Also for this piece, for some reason, I jumped straight into doing background before anything else. So that was weird, but it established the colors for me, which was nice. Overall, I really like this piece. And that concludes Artfight for me. I'll be showing all of my attacks that I got sent my way, but I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling about my attacks and just Artfight in general. And remember that Artfight is an event for everyone. Don't be scared to join. I promise you guys will meet kind people who will make your doubts go away.